And as he spoke, the people in that basement nodded. He connected in a pretty fundamental way, and he connected with me, made me think twice about the life I was living. And it wasn't that Barack made us believe in him. It was that Barack made us believe in ourselves, in our ability with our own decision and choices to grab our fate and go someplace differently. And it's so funny that now we're standing here 20 years later. And one of the many things I'm proud about of my husband over the course of this election is that the man that I fell in love with in that church basement is the same man today. Barack has been consistent. Consistent in his goals and his ways of going about achieving them. That's why I say Barack is exactly who he appears to be. Because I've known this man. And he has stayed true to his vision and his passion. But how ironic that we're at a point in time when there's so much at stake in this election. Where basically we are once again confronting those two questions right here. There's a nation. You know, do we accept the world as it is? Or do we fight for the world as it should be? And we have clear choices in this race. It seems so clear to me. Because we have one candidate who clearly believes that the world as it is just fine. That we don't need to do anything different from the last 4 or 8 years, that what we've got is good enough. And then there's Barack Obama, the other candidate, who will be fighting every day to push us into the world as it should be. And what does that world look like? In the world as it should be, everybody who works hard every day has a shot at a decent living, can support their family, can aspire to a future for themselves and their kids. And in the world as it should be, every single child in this nation, regardless of their race or their religious background or their parents' political party, can imagine experience a world-class public education, complete with all the magical things like art and music and theater and computers and library, maybe a little recess and gym. And when those kids do what has been asked of them, and they study hard and they stay out of trouble and they get good grades, that they can reach their dreams of going to college and they don't have to forego them because their parents just haven't quite saved enough to get them there. In the world as it should be, no one goes bankrupt just because they get sick. No one has to put off a mammogram or pulled muscle or ignore a child's asthma because they don't have primary health care. In the world as it should be, we are investing in a long-term energy policy, and we are reducing our dependence on oil and really building an energy future for our kids and handing them a planet that is clean. In the world as it should be. And in that world, we would not be in a war that should have never been authorized and never been waged. And no matter how you feel about the war, in the world as it should be, when those men and women who have fought so hard for us, with honor and dignity and pride, when they come home to this country that they love so much, that they come home to jobs and housing and health care and mental health support for their post-traumatic stress disorder, and maybe they have money to pursue an education and send their kids to college. That's the world as it should be. But what Barack has said from the moment he announced is that he can't do it alone. He said that. That he can't do this alone, no matter how great his verbal abilities. That the change that we are looking for in this country goes back to our own choices, our own ability as regular citizens to connect, to work hand in hand, block by block, to keep knocking on those doors, picking up those phones, and doing it not just up until November but beyond.